social value policy, there clearly is a lot for them there to be able to engage and bid against our services. So that, I think, is nicely covered off. You notice in the report there is some important training coming through in contract management training, and I welcome that. And I think this is certainly fit for purpose, sir, and commend it to the executive.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from executive members? No. So just a comment from myself.
Bid to public sector, and only today I was talking to a company and saying you're going to need to evidence social value, and this company probably turns over about £10 million and said, well, what's that all about? So, case in point.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Has Councillor McKinnon got his hand? He has.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. And one more, leader, if I may. It does seem very light. I mean, after all the definitions, we've got a section on how skilled our staff are, which is great to hear. But then under priorities, actions and implementation, all we have is we'll continue to work with service areas, continue to work with, to develop category plans and pipelines, and then work will be carried out to monitor spend to ensure compliance. I mean, that's not really a strategy, is it? It's a post-it note.
Well, that's your point of view. Work will be carried out because we're monitoring this all the time. I attend the procurement board regularly, and so in flight this guides us, as you know, a strategy must do. And not so long ago you were in charge of this, and I remember you telling us it was a very good service. I think it still is, and this helps it continue to be so.
Thanks, Councillor Brooks. Thanks, leader.
Thank you, Councillor McKinnon. I saw then Councillor Marsh hasn't got any questions. So
sort of thing is done within the departments. It will get fed back to commissioning and procurement. So as they monitor performance, that is gathered, and we rely on the departments to feed that sort of performance issues back so it can roll up into contract review. You mentioned category management, and is there an example? And of course, leader, you're only going to give me a minute or two on the management of temporary workers, but that is an example of where category management is saying, with the help of members, how do we bear down on those costs through the commissioning process? The day-to-day purchasing of temporary workers, as you know, I bang on about, that should go through the commensurate.
Particularly sensible. I think the report recognises correctly that there's no point in putting a 20 mile an hour or even any speed limit on a road which is just not going to be enforceable if it's not going to be accepted by the majority of the traffic on there, because the police don't really have the resources to conduct a great deal of extra enforcement. So my question was going to be quite similar to what Councillor Abbs just mentioned there about, would there be a chance of imposing, for want of a better word, a 20 mile an hour limit on residents who didn't want it? Although Councillor Gaines, I think, has answered that question in the negative. So I'm quite happy with that, and it seems like a pretty sensible response.
Thanks for your comments, Councillor McKinnon. Councillor Bowick, please, and then Councillor Willis. Sorry. You're okay. Councillor Gaines was poorly earlier, so I think we'll leave it there, and you can follow out with Councillor Bowick in corridors.
There was no question. I know there was no question. Sorry. Coming back to what I was going to say, I take your point. We won't impose 20 miles per hour limits. What we were looking at is the characteristics of roads before we actually even start looking at them. So if a characteristic of a road is not suitable for 20 miles an hour, it will never. Councillor Marsh, because I actually did there were an awful lot of questions in there. Yes, I appreciate that the speed review panel is very, very cumbersome at the moment, and it hasn't met since we actually started the new administration.
This is one such, the supported living contract. It's had a procurement strategy approved by Procurement Board. It will follow the Council's contract rules for tendering and award approval. And I draw your attention to page 176. Beck being an absolute person who sat here and checked all of your reports, and many's the time Councillor Bowick found lots of errors in them, so not peculiar to us, I feel sure. However, having given
doing when I was in when we were in administration, I was obviously exec member for finance, and I was on the procurement board, so I sort of saw all of this stuff, and now Councillor Brooks is obviously in
currently we're getting round about £1.2 million worth of additional revenue compared to the interest which we're paying against the actual.
Not good at all. But
the questions, Councillor McKinnon?
I do. I mean, I think you're going to have to pull this, but assuming you don't, when I read the paper, and I've told you already.
Thank you, Leader. I'll take this in two parts. There's a philosophical part.
Sorry, the then chief exec, not
okay.
the current chief exec.
Okay. There's two parts to this. One, the philosophical part, and Councillor Marsh has been very strident. You know, you've gone over the top, frankly, about we've indicated what we'll sell them for. We sold nothing at the moment, sir. Sold nothing at all. And the valuation is in the public domain year after year after year. So I think you're just over-egging that. It's rather synthetic astonishment that you're showing.